The only thing stopping a gangster from engaging in criminal activity is the law. However, when the law does not work effectively in a particular country, we witness the emergence of a gangster's paradise. In this video, we'll explore 10 countries where organized crime and corruption have flourished, as well as suspicions regarding dealings between government and organized crime. Number 10. Jamaica. Jamaica, renowned for reggae music, Bob Marley, and breathtaking landscapes, faces significant challenges including corruption and alleged government links to organized crime. The Tivoli incursion case in 2010 exposed suspected government involvement with criminal networks. This operation, targeting a drug lord in Tivoli Gardens, resulted in civilian casualties and shed light on collusion between criminals and senior officials. Lottery fraud has also surged, primarily targeting elderly individuals abroad. Scammers deceive victims into thinking they've won a lottery prize, extorting money from them. Corrupt officials reportedly shield some criminal networks involved in this fraud, hindering law enforcement efforts. Moreover, due to its strategic Caribbean location, Jamaica remains susceptible to drug trafficking, providing an ideal setting for certain gangs to thrive. Number 9. Guatemala. Corruption has long plagued Guatemala, damaging its institutions, hindering economic development, and eroding public trust. This widespread corruption hampers effective governance, resulting in inadequate public services, weak law enforcement, and a lack of accountability for officials. Transparency International consistently ranks Guatemala as one of the most corrupt nations globally, highlighting the gravity of the problem. The 2015 La Linea scandal is a prominent example that exposes the flourishing organized crime in Guatemala. The case implicated high-ranking government officials such as former President Otto Pérez Molina and Vice President Rosana Baldetti. It unveiled an extensive network involving customs officials, business people, and politicians who colluded to defraud the state through customs fraud. This illicit operation allowed contraband goods to enter the country without proper taxation. Number 8. Russia. Corruption in Russia is a widespread issue involving bribery, embezzlement, and misappropriation of public funds. In particular, the rise of oligarchs during the privatization process of the 1990s has contributed to this problem. Many oligarchs amassed their wealth by exploiting state resources, suspected of maintaining close ties to the government for protection and influence in exchange for loyalty and financial support. The Russian government and the Solzhenskaya Bratva Mafia have long been suspected of being at the same table. A prominent aspect of corruption is the illicit drug trade, particularly synthetic opioids and methamphetamines, which criminal networks smuggle in and out of the country using corrupt officials and porous borders. Additionally, cybercrime thrives in Russia, with hacker groups gaining notoriety for high-profile cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure, businesses, and government globally. These cybercriminals often operate with relative freedom and some degree of protection within the country. Number 7. Somalia. Somalia, in the Horn of Africa, faces political instability and numerous challenges, including corruption. Its coastline is notorious for pirate activities where ships are hijacked for hefty ransoms. While international efforts have aimed to tackle piracy, suspicions have arisen about the Somali government's insufficient actions due to the shared interests with pirate groups. These shared interests could involve financial gains, connections, or political alliances, enabling piracy to persist along Somalia's coast. A striking example of organized crime flourishing in Somalia is the illegal charcoal trade. This illicit exportation exacerbates deforestation, environmental degradation, and provides funding for armed groups. Despite international bans on Somali charcoal exports, criminal networks exploit loopholes, bribe officials, and engage in illicit trade, undermining anti-piracy efforts. Number 6. Myanmar. Myanmar, a Southeast Asian nation known for its rich culture and natural beauty, faces a major obstacle to progress: corruption. However, corruption is not the only issue plaguing the country. It's become a hub for organized crime in Asia. Transparency International consistently ranks Myanmar as one of the most corrupt nations globally. Although the country's transition to democracy in 2011 brought hope for combating corruption, progress has been slow. Corruption remains deeply ingrained within Myanmar's bureaucracy and institutions. The close connections between politicians, military figures, and influential businessmen has created an environment of relative impunity for illicit activities. Myanmar's Golden Triangle, bordering Thailand and Laos, is infamous for opium and methamphetamine production. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime estimates that Myanmar is the world's largest methamphetamine producer, fueling corruption and strengthening organized crime networks with drug trafficking profits. Number 5. Tajikistan. Tajikistan faces significant challenges with corruption and alleged government involvement in organized crime, resulting in alarming consequences such as a thriving market for stolen cars. It's gained notoriety as the only place where stolen cars, mainly from Germany, can be freely driven on the roads. The country's weak law enforcement and widespread corruption provide a fertile ground for the illicit trade of stolen vehicles. Stolen cars from Germany often end up in Tajikistan, where they're sold and driven without repercussions. The lack of accountability, particularly in transactions with third-party sellers, allows stolen cars to circulate within the country without consequences. This situation has been exploited by gangs involved in car theft, who capitalize on the opportunity to transport stolen cars to Tajikistan and sell them at significantly lower prices than the market norm. Number 4. Venezuela. Venezuela, once prosperous, faces a multitude of challenges. Corruption runs deep, infecting government, law enforcement, and the judiciary. Economic decline and political instability worsen the situation, allowing corruption to flourish. A major example of this corruption was the embezzlement scandal of PDVSA, the state-owned oil company. High-ranking officials and their associates stole billions of dollars intended for public welfare and development projects. Venezuela has been accused of government complicity with organized crime, notably in the cartel of the Suns case. This criminal network allegedly involved military and government officials who facilitated drug trafficking, protected cartels, and engaged in the drug trade. Testimonies from insiders and evidence gathered by international law enforcement agencies further fuel suspicions of government involvement. Number 3. Suriname. Nestled on the northeastern coast of South America, Suriname is a small country that often remains unnoticed on the global stage. However, it faces significant challenges. Corruption has plagued Suriname for years, hindering its governance and socioeconomic progress. Situated strategically and blessed with vast rainforests, the nation has become an attractive hub for drug trafficking. Criminal networks exploit weak law enforcement and border control, utilizing Suriname as a conduit for cocaine destined for Europe and North America. Additionally, Suriname's abundance of natural resources, notably gold, has attracted organized crime. Illegal gold mining, associated with environmental destruction and human rights violations, thrives due to lax regulations and officials susceptible to bribery, enabling smuggling operations. Number 2. Laos. Laos, along with its neighboring Myanmar, has gained notoriety as one of the largest producers of methamphetamine in the region. This highly addictive drug has found a lucrative market, both domestically and internationally, leading to severe social, economic, and health consequences. The illicit meth trade has thrived due to several factors, including the country's remote and mountainous regions, weak law enforcement, and porous borders to facilitate production and trafficking of drugs. The interplay between poverty and corruption exacerbates the situation. The country's high poverty rate and limited economic opportunities make it vulnerable to the influence of criminal networks. Number 1. Mexico. Mexico's organized crime activities have gained global attention, fueled by its strategic location near the United States and extensive coastline. The country serves as a major hub for drug trafficking and illicit enterprises. Dominated by powerful drug cartels, Mexico's drug trade thrives through their influence and brutal control tactics. Widespread corruption has deeply infected Mexican society and politics, leading to suspicions of government collusion with cartels and undermining the credibility of institutions. El Chapo, the infamous former leader of the Sinaloa cartel, exemplifies the intricate ties between organized crime and Mexican establishments. His repeated ability to evade capture has raised concerns about corruption within law enforcement and collusion between cartels and authorities. Powerful cartels hinder efforts to combat corruption as they coerce numerous officials into corruption through constant threats, making it challenging for these individuals to resist. Let's not forget, these countries are dedicated to eradicating corruption and organized crime, aiming to create a society free from any form of gangster paradise.